चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So in these verses, Lord Kapila is describing the process of meditation on the form of the Lord by the yogi in his heart. So beginning with the most important, to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. So we find Lord Kapila describing how should one start meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. When a devotee or a yogi is meditating, he should be able to meditate on the specific symbols which are present on the lotus feet of the Lord alone. These symbols distinguish the lotus feet of the Lord from others. There are some special marks on the lotus feet of the Lord. So first the yogi is advised to meditate on these special features, these special signs. Then Lord Kapila advised that one should meditate on the toenail of the Supreme Lord, which is very splendorous. It resembles the orbit of the moon. And if one does so, this splendor emanating from the toe of the Supreme Lord, it can completely dispel the darkness in our heart. So, that is how the meditation should begin. And then Lord Kapila said, the importance of the meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord can be understood by the fact that even Lord Shiva, he becomes more auspicious. Even though he himself is very auspicious, being devoted to the Supreme Lord, but by holding on his head the river Ganga, which emanates from the lotus feet of the Lord, he has become even more auspicious. And then Lord Kapila says that when one meditates on the Lord's lotus feet, one should understand they have the potency just like a thunderbolt. The sins in the heart of the living entity is compared to the mountain, Shaila. And Lord Indra, in order to bring down the mountain, to destroy the mountain, he hurls his thunderbolt. So we may wonder how the sins we have been committing from so many lives, which have become like a mountain, how it can be destroyed. And this is the process. If one simply meditates on the lotus feet of the Lord, then just like thunderbolt destroys the mountain, the lotus feet of the Lord has the potency that it will destroy the mountains of sins in our heart, and we will become purified. So further describing, now Lord Kapila says that these two lotus feet of the Lord are constantly being served by Mother Lakshmi. Mother Lakshmi, actually her residence is on the chest of the Lord, but she is so attached to the transcendental service of the Lord that even though she is the internal potency of the Lord, like a devotee renders service, she always constantly renders service at the lotus feet of the Lord. It is said, just like Parikshit obtained perfection in spiritual life just by hearing, Shukdev Goswami obtained perfection in spiritual life just by speaking about Krishna. Mother Lakshmi obtained complete perfection in spiritual life just by serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Pada Sevanam. And Mother Lakshmi is not some ordinary woman. The importance of who is serving the lotus feet of the Lord is explained here to make us understand how glorious are the lotus feet of the Lord. That even Lord Shiva, He becomes auspicious, who makes our life auspicious. Even He becomes auspicious. And Mother Lakshmi, whose grace is always sought by everyone in every planet. Human beings are seeking after some grace of Mother Lakshmi. Devatas are seeking after some grace of Mother Lakshmi. All the inhabitants are seeking her grace because she is called as Goddess of Fortune. But she herself is always engaged constantly in serving the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. It is said that when Bhrigu, he kicked on the chest of the Lord, even though the Supreme Lord forgave him, Mother Lakshmi never forgave. Because she is always serving the Supreme Lord. And that Supreme Lord, his chest was kicked. The place of Mother Lakshmi was kicked by Bhrigu Muni. The Lord, being very kind, he said to Bhrigu Muni that my chest is very hard like a stone. Probably your feet are hurt by that, let me massage them. But it is said that from that time, Mother Lakshmi, she is not very favorable to the Brahmanas. And that is why we find the Brahmanas are always poverty stricken. That is the reason. So, the position of Mother Lakshmi is being glorified here. So what it is said, Janu Dvayam, the two lotus feet of the Lord up to the knees. Dvayam means two, Janu means knees, up to the knees. They are served by Mother Lakshmi. And who is Mother Lakshmi? Jalaja Lochanaya. She is lotus-eyed. So, that is why she is called Goddess of Fortune. Most beautiful. No comparison of her beauty in this material world. Jalaja Lochanaya Jananya. And she is the mother of all, and specifically Vidhatuhu, mother of Brahma, who is called Vidhata. Now why it is said that she is the mother? Because she is eternal wife of Lord Vishnu. So if Vishnu is the father, then automatically she becomes the mother. So that is how it is said. And then it is said, Lakshmaya Akhilasya Suravanditaya. This Mother Lakshmi is not some ordinary woman. She is being served. Her grace is sought. She is being worshipped. Akhilasya Sura. All the demigods. What to talk about ordinary human being? Her grace is sought even by great demigods. And apart from up to the knee, she is also massaging the transcendental Uru, thighs of the Lord. Uravor Nidhaya Karapallava Rochishaya. With her lotus palm, which are very splendorous, lustrous, she is massaging the thighs of the Lord. Samlalitam means massaging, caring for. And the yogis advised, Hridi Vibhor Abhavasya Kurya. One should always keep this picture in his mind when he is meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. See how one has to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. That these are the lotus feet by which even Lord Shiva becomes auspicious. These are the lotus feet by which the gloom in my heart, the darkness in my heart can be completely dissipated. These are the lotus feet which are served constantly by Mother Lakshmi, who is the mother of even Vidhata. She is the mother of Brahma. And she is the goddess of fortune, whose grace is sought by one and all in all the planets. That is how one should meditate. This picture one has to keep in his mind. Now, one may wonder, isn't this picture, if we have to meditate on, looks like some kind of material service? In this material world also we find that sometimes the wife serves the husband, or some wife of a demigod serves a devata by massaging his feet. So isn't it something like that only? So should I meditate on one woman massaging the feet of somebody? Should I meditate like that? Somebody may think. That is why, very interestingly, Prabhupada points out so many important things in the purport. Prabhupada is saying, this service by Mother Lakshmi should not be considered something like a wife, ordinary man's wife massaging her husband's feet, or some wife of some devata massaging devata's feet. It should not be thought of like that. That is why Lord Kapila is using two very important words here. He is saying, Abhavasya Vibhor Abhavasya Kurya. Vibhor means he is not ordinary, the Supreme Lord and his service, what is being rendered, is not ordinary. Whose lotus feet are being massaged? Not some ordinary man, not some devata. He is Vibhor. All living entities, including devatas, they are all anor. They are all tiny living entities. He is supremely transcendental. That is the meaning of Vibhor. And Abhavasya. Abhavasya means, Bhava means one who takes birth in this material world. That is called Bhava. Abhavasya means one who never takes birth. That is the meaning of Abhavasya. Now, how Prabhupada is beautifully linking this Abhavasya to Mother Lakshmi massaging the lotus feet of the Lord, to Mother Lakshmi being Jananya. Very nicely Prabhupada is explaining. So Prabhupada is saying that even though Mother Lakshmi is considered to be the mother of Brahma, but in reality, when Mother Lakshmi was massaging the lotus feet of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu did not take the help of Mother Lakshmi. Generally, a husband takes the help of the wife in order to beget a child. He cannot do otherwise. But here we find that even though Mother Lakshmi was present and massaging the feet of the Lord did not have to take any help from Mother Lakshmi to beget Lord Brahma. There was a lotus which sprouted from the navel of the Supreme Lord, and on that lotus Brahma was born. So Prabhupada is saying that is the meaning of Abhavasya. You see, if you read the first paragraph, Prabhupada is very nicely first of all explaining Brahma is the appointed Lord of the universe. His father is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is automatically his mother. Okay. And then you see towards the end of this first paragraph, very beautifully Prabhupada is explaining. Brahma is described here as the son of goddess of fortune, but actually he was not born of her womb. Brahma takes his birth from the abdomen of the Lord himself. A lotus flower grows from the abdomen of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and Brahma is born there. Therefore, Lakshmi Ji's massaging of the thighs of the Lord should not be taken as behavior of an ordinary wife. See? Because he is not ordinary, the Supreme Lord is not ordinary. Ordinary man requires assistance of his wife to beget a child. The Supreme Lord does not require anyone's assistance. So how do you think he is ordinary? Massaging of his lotus feet, if he is not ordinary, how could massaging of his feet can be considered to be ordinary? How can an ordinary person massage his transcendental feet? Isn't it? That is what one should consider. So, this is the point here, that you cannot think that Mother Lakshmi's massaging of the feet is like ordinary wife massaging the feet of husband. No. He is abhavasya. Prabhupada is saying, what is the meaning of abhavasya here? The Lord is transcendental to the behavior of the ordinary male and female. The word abhavasya is very significant. It indicates he could produce Brahma without the assistance of goddess of fortune. Transcendental. Abhavasya is not the one who takes his birth in this material world, influenced by three modes of material nature. He is not one of the created beings. So his service cannot be compared to an ordinary man's service by ordinary wife. That should be understood. So this is one very important thing which Prabhupada is saying. Next, again Prabhupada points out about Suravanditaya Akhilasya, that in all planets the grace of Mother Lakshmi is sought. Correct? Now, we also understand from Brahma Samhita that actually not one Lakshmi, like this Sahasra Lakshmis, they are engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. Thousands and thousands of goddess of fortune are engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. So here also Prabhupada again points out, nearly at the end of this paragraph, that the Supreme Lord's this service is not like an ordinary service of some demigod's massaging of his feet or some ordinary man's massaging of his feet. So Prabhupada says here, since transcendental behavior is different from mundane behavior, it should not be taken that the Lord receives service from his wife just as a demigod or human being might receive service from his wife. His receiving of service and our receiving of service, there is difference, because he is transcendental. It is advised here that yogi always keeps this picture in his heart. Now, the yogi has to think about this, but how does a devotee apply this in his life? How does a devotee apply this in his life? Very simple. Prabhupada is saying, devotees always thinks of this relationship between Lakshmi and Narayana. Therefore, he does not meditate on the mental plane as impersonalists and voidists do. Always, whenever a devotee thinks of the Lord, he always thinks of the Lord in relation with his internal energy. Radha Krishna, Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan. He is always accustomed to this. He always understands the relationship. Not like people, just few days back we were discussing about in that pastimes of Lord Rama, the mentality of Hanuman and the mentality of Ravana. Hanuman always wants to see Sita and Ram together, Sita being engaged in serving the lotus feet of Lord Ram. Ravana's mentality is he wants to separate Sita and Ram. And he wants to engage Sita in his sense gratification. Lakshmi in his sense gratification. That is the mentality. So in that sense, all of our life member preachers are doing a great service, because people are generally engaging Mother Lakshmi, which is meant to serve Narayana, in their own sense gratification, and they are becoming entangled. So, like Hanuman, we try our best to see that people understand that Lakshmi is meant for service of Narayana. Then it's a great service to them. They are saved from going to hell, because actually Lakshmi is meant for his service. So this is another important meaning which Prabhupada is explaining. Third, Prabhupada explains what does this word bhava means in the third paragraph, if you see. Bhava means one who accepts a material body, and abhava means one who does not accept a material body but descends in the original spiritual body. Because the Supreme Lord does come, He comes. We find that in Bhagavad Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata tadatmanam srujami aham. Krishna says, sambhavami yuge yuge, in every millennium I come. He does come, but he is still called Abhava. Why is he called Abhava? Because when we come in this material world, we take a form of matter. So we are called Bhava. And that is why we will have birth, we will have death. Whereas when the Supreme Lord comes, He does not take a material form. He does not take a created form. He is not a creation of Brahma. All the living entities in this material world, their bodies are a creation of Brahma. But the Supreme Lord existed even before Brahma. He is the one who created Brahma. So that is why he is called as Abhava. Lord Narayana is not born of anything material. Matter is generated from matter, but he is not born of matter. Brahma is born after the creation, but since the Lord existed before the creation, the Lord has no material body. So his massaging of the lotus feet of the Lord should not be considered to be something material, because he is not matter. His body is not material. Even when he comes to the material world, impersonalist thinks like this: Brahman takes a body in sattva guna, but it is material only according to them. But actually the Supreme Lord never takes a material body. He comes in his original body. So, the service rendered by Mother Lakshmi to the lotus feet of the Lord is not ordinary. That is the understanding. So you can just imagine how important is to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Samashrita ye pada pallava plavam. This whole material existence is also situated at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. That is why he is called as Mahat Padam Punya Yasho Murare. Because the whole material existence exists at the lotus feet of the Lord. There is no boat in this material world which you can take and cross over this material existence. But completely sama ashrita, ye pada pallava plavam. If you take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, which are also compared to a pallava. It is also like a boat. If you take shelter of that, then immediately you will be able to cross over this material existence. This material existence does not remain any more like an ocean. It becomes Vatsapadam. It becomes completely compressed to the size of one calf's hoof print. And devotee can easily cross over this material existence. So, this is a very great understanding how the devotees have to become more and more attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, and by gradually performing our devotional service, beginning from the lotus feet of the Lord, we will be able to advance further and further, and then we will be able to see the Lord face to face. So we'll stop with this. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.